All right. In the interest of time, we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, apologies to everyone for the technical difficulties. Appreciate that you were able to find your way here. We just resent out the Zoom link, and we will be recording this session. So for anyone that might join late, not to worry. We're going to go ahead and get started. But again, everything will be recording, and we'll be sending that out. So just a few housekeeping notes before we proceed. Again, this workshop is being recorded and everyone will receive a copy of that recording in addition to other information and resources following today's session. So please keep an eye on your inbox for that. If you have any questions during today's session, you can put those in the Q&A. I'm joined by three of my amazing colleagues, Raphael, Katie, and Kyle, who will be doing their best to answer those questions, but again, can't guarantee that we will get to all of them. We had a ton of people register for today and that are going to be attending. So we're going to do our best, but really just want to deliver the most up-to-date information that we can. And if you need to enable closed captioning or live transcription during the webinar, we'll be posting a link in the chat with instructions on how to enable this feature on Zoom. All right, so a quick look at the agenda that we're going to cover here today. I'm first just going to do some brief introductions of myself and either introduce you for the first time or reintroduce you all to Savi, your student loan benefit, and how we can be of assistance for all your student loan needs. And then we are going to dive right into the meat of the presentation, really talk about the latest in policy updates, what is going on in the world of student loans, what to expect, and try to answer some of the most common questions that we've been seeing coming through from borrowers. And that includes what borrowers should know and what they should be doing now as of today, Wednesday, February 5th. And then we're going to wrap things up with just another overview of how you can take advantage of Savi to help you achieve and accomplish those things. So my name is Lindsay Clark. I'm the Chief Borrower Advocate here at Savi. I'm a student loan borrower myself. And I lead our educational workshop and webinars and communications to borrowers. But really today, my goal is to help deliver the most up-to-date information so that you all can not only remain informed, but aware of what's going on in what I know is a very turbulent, overwhelming, and confusing time when it comes to student loans. So I'm going to try to really, help everyone digest this information. The situation is rapidly changing, and so we'll talk about a few of those things in just a minute. Now, I work for Savi, and Savi is your student loan benefit, either through your employer, membership association, union organization. We provide you all with access to the tools and resources to help you achieve the best outcome possible with your student loans. We are a social impact technology startup based in Washington, D.C. We were founded by student loan experts and advocates who've been fighting on behalf of the borrower for more than a decade. And our goal is to help make the experience of being a student loan borrower a better one. We know how overwhelming and complicated it can be to navigate these federal programs on your own. And so that's exactly why we developed Savi as a technology platform and a human service to help borrowers like you and like me not only better understand our student loans, but navigate successfully from start to finish around programs like income-driven repayment and public service loan forgiveness. At Savi, we like to think that borrowers and not their loans are our top priority. And that's exactly why we do things like this here today. We believe that when borrowers are better educated and more informed about their debt and the current situation, they are really more empowered as consumers. So again, that's why we're here, because Savi is your exclusive student loan benefit. We work with some incredible organizations across the country to provide this access to you all, as well as your family members. And we're excited to be able to not only partner with these organizations, but again, be able to provide all of you with the support you need in your individual student loan journeys. All right, so with introductions out of the way, let's dive in and we're going to talk about some of the most important policy updates. Again, as of, let's see, what time is it? 4:18 Eastern Standard Time on February 5th. All right, so first we're going to start by talking about the current state of income-driven or IDR plans. So first up, the SAVE plan. Okay, this was the newest income-driven repayment plan introduced by the Biden administration, is still on hold. Okay. Now the pay and ICR plans, these are additional income-driven repayment plans, are now available again after enrollment had been limited last year. Okay. Essentially when SAVE was released, these plans were only available to borrowers already enrolled. Okay. But now anyone can enroll again or change or move into those plans. ICR was always available for borrowers with Parent Plus loans, but it's now available again for everyone. So all borrowers are able to enroll. Now, borrowers already enrolled in the SAVE plan will remain in the zero interest forbearance while the lawsuits are ongoing, or they can switch to another repayment plan to begin making payments again. Now, the SAVE forbearances are expected to last through the summer, but this may change. Okay, so we will obviously keep you updated on any movement there. As a huge reminder, because I know many in our audience here today are eligible for public service loan forgiveness, months while in the SAVE forbearance do not count towards PSLF credit. Okay. However, you might be able to do something called PSLF buyback, and I'm going to touch on that a little bit later on. Just one last thing to keep in mind when it comes to income-driven repayment right now, you should expect application delays, whether enrolling for the first time, trying to switch into another plan. We are seeing across the board, regardless of servicer, delays in processing these applications. There's nothing really Savi can do on our end to help speed that up. But obviously we are monitoring the situation, and we'll continue monitoring that. And if any of you all out there have questions about the status of your applications and things like that, with those Savi premium plans, you're able to reach out to our support team. All right, another update, and this one is really important because, amidst all of the things you're going to hear in the news about student loans and this sort of constantly changing landscape, this is something that will have a real tangible impact on your life right now. And so I want to make sure everyone is aware. So back when payments started for the first time after that long COVID pause, about 3+ years, okay? So I believe this was October of 2023 when payments began for the first time after a very, very long hiatus. They had instituted what they called an on-ramp to repayment, which was a 12-month period of protections for borrowers during that time, sort of like a safety net. So during that period, anyone who missed payments, had late payments, partial payments, wasn't penalized in the same ways that they normally would. Those penalties normally included, going into delinquency and even into default and negative reporting to the credit agencies. Okay. Now that on-ramp to repayment came to an end September 30th of last year, but only until now, January, or I should say last month, January of this year, have the real impacts of any late payments started to be felt in that they have just started reporting to the credit bureaus. Okay, so beginning in January of this year, missed payments could incur the following penalties: impacts to your credit score, falling into delinquency after 3 consecutive missed payments, okay, and then into default after 9 consecutive missed payments, all right? And beyond default, for federal loans, they will go so far as to put you into a wage garnishment, which is taking 15% of every paycheck. So really important that you are aware of the impacts that are happening right now and to avoid missing payments at all costs. Just to point out, forbearance is not counted as missing a payment. So if you're currently in the SAVE forbearance, or maybe you've been put into a processing forbearance while your income-driven repayment application is being processed, those are not missed payments. Those are a forbearance and something separate where a payment is not due, okay? Now, borrowers who are already in default before the COVID payment pause should expect their collections to resume soon, okay? If you are struggling to make your payment, my biggest suggestion here is to be proactive and reach out to Savi for help in finding repayment options. Again, this is something that regardless of what changes might be ongoing or coming down the pipeline as far as student loans go, will have a material impact on your financial well-being right now. So we want to make sure that borrowers are not being negatively impacted by any missed payments. All right, another update here in regards to something called the one-time account adjustments. This was an initiative under the Biden administration and the Biden Department of Education to essentially go back through every federal student loan borrower's accounts and award them credit for periods of time that they may have been in repayment, but not necessarily making a payment. Maybe they were on an extended forbearance or deferment, things like that. So they were essentially going to go back and award credit as if a payment had been made for more periods of time. Those account adjustments had been ongoing for over a year, if not 2 years, finally wrapped up as the Biden administration came to a close. And we are happy to report that you are now able or should be able to track your payment count on your studentaid.gov account. So if you go to studentaid.gov, log in using your FSA or Federal Student Aid ID, you will be able to see a sort of payment tracking, and that can track either towards income-driven repayment forgiveness or public service loan forgiveness. Just to note, you can also track this progress in your Savi account as well. Okay. So again, these adjustments, we're giving borrowers credit for past payments that previously may not have qualified. So for many borrowers, the intention is to bring them closer to that point of loan forgiveness. And while it was primarily intended, to help borrowers get closer to income-driven repayment forgiveness, borrowers pursuing public service loan forgiveness can have any of those adjusted payment counts count towards PSLF as well. All you need to do is make sure that you have your employment certification forms fully submitted and up to date for those periods of time. Now, I would say borrowers should still expect to see some updates if they haven't already in their accounts over the coming weeks. So this is something you're just going to have to sort of be a little bit proactive in checking if your account has not been updated already, but those should all be reflected across studentaid.gov relatively soon. All right. And the last policy update here, the future of the Department of Education. I was really hoping that by 4 p.m. today, when we were going to start this webinar, that we would have heard news coming from the Trump administration after it had been reported that they were discussing issuing an executive order or actions around reorganizing or abolishing the Department of Education. This came out in news reports earlier this week, and we were potentially expecting something today, if not in the next 24 to 48 hours. We have not heard or seen anything as of right now, 4/26. But if we do hear anything, we will be communicating that to all Savi users via email. But as of right now, just to give everyone a sense of sort of, what we know and what we don't know, officials have discussed a potential executive order that would shut down any functions of the agency that aren't written explicitly into statute or move certain functions to other government departments. Now, just so everyone knows, eliminating the Department of Education outright requires an act of Congress, so go through legislation. So the order would call for developing some type of legislative proposal to abolish the department entirely. However, Trump's advisors are still debating the specifics of the order and obviously the timing. Any changes will likely take some time, as the new Secretary of Education has still not even been confirmed by the Senate, nor has her confirmation hearing date even been set. But really, it's unclear how any of this would impact student loans, at least in the short term. At various points, there have been proposals to move the student loan portfolio over to the Treasury Department, for example, or transition back to having private companies own and manage the loan program. But those operational shifts would not inherently change the underlying programs available to borrowers. So as of right now, we are actively monitoring the situation. And again, as soon as we hear and know more, we will be communicating that out to all Savi users. All right, so now I'm going to run through some frequently asked questions that we've been seeing across the board here at Savi that I think would be helpful to kind of center some of your next steps and just sort of a better grasp on what's going on. So one of the biggest questions I think that we've been seeing at Savi here is, should I stay on the save forbearance or switch to a new plan? Now, like always with student loans, there is no one size fits all solution or answer that I can give. The save forbearances are expected to last through the summer, and some borrowers may want to take advantage of not making payments for as long as possible. I mean, heck, I know it's nice to not have to make a student loan payment, right? On the other hand, the save forbearances do not count towards forgiveness, and borrowers are concerned about delaying forgiveness they're working towards, especially public service loan forgiveness. Every one of those months towards your 120 feels hard earned, and you want to count. If you want to take advantage of not making payments right now, you can stay in the forbearances and remain on save. If you want to start earning progress towards forgiveness again, you can switch to a different income-driven repayment plan. All right. And you can see what those payments would look like by going through your Savi account. And you can see what options might be available to you. But ultimately, the best decision varies from borrower to borrower. And again, this is where Savi can help you determine the best course of action for your situation. All right, here's another big one. Will income-driven repayment plans go away? So some borrowers fear that the Trump administration will make things difficult for borrowers. However, a simple cost-benefit analysis suggests this is unlikely. While student loan forgiveness remains unpopular with Trump's base, there aren't widespread calls to redefine things like discretionary income or adjust the percentages borrower pay each month. Changes like these would be legally complex, deeply unpopular with those affected, right? And unlikely to be seen as a win by his base. And those things, right, are really what impact a borrower on a month-to-month basis as far as that monthly payment calculation. It's also worth noting that congressional offices, both Republican and Democratic, are filled with recent graduates struggling with student loans and living in an expensive city. So the potential benefit of making repayment more punitive compared to the potential downside makes such changes unlikely. All right, so that would really hurt the pockets of 47 million Americans undeservedly. Now, one last thing to keep in mind: access to income-driven plans is guaranteed in the master promissory note. This is the agreement that you signed probably back when you were 17, 18 years old, when you were taking out federal student loans. This makes it harder to remove them as an option. They were legally afforded to you under that master promissory note. So all to say that while there may be a repeal of something like the SAVE plan, right, the idea of income-driven repayment entirely going away is something that is highly unlikely. Again, there may be some reorganization or shifting around of the plans, a new plan, et cetera. But there will and should always be some type of income-driven repayment option. All right, here's a big one. I know a lot of people are asking, what will happen to PSLF, or public service loan forgiveness? So let's take us back a little bit. When President Trump was first elected in 2016, many borrowers feared it would mean the end of public service loan forgiveness. During the first 2 years of his term, Republicans controlled both houses of Congress, yet no plans to eliminate PSLF were seriously considered. Because PSLF has been statutory law since 2007, October 2007 is when it was written into law, eliminating the program would require an act of Congress. Even if Democrats are in the minority, the Senate filibuster provides some protection. PSLF language is also included in that master promissory note, MPN. That's going to become a sort of a phrase or a slogan, or a name that you're going to become more familiar with, because it really will start to look like your rights as a borrower and what you are afforded legally and access to legally. And PSLF was something included in there. Last thing to keep in mind: when proposals to eliminate PSLF have been made, they usually include provisions to grandfather in existing borrowers. So it'll say something like, changes to this program will impact new borrowers starting this date forward. So anyone with existing student loans pursuing the program already would be grandfathered in and able to take advantage of it. Right. So that's the latest that we can sort of know and say on PSLF right now. Okay, Speaking of PSLF, let's talk a little bit about this PSLF buyback. This is something that some of you may have been hearing about, especially as an option for those who were in the SAVE forbearances. So borrowers on the SAVE forbearance that are pursuing forgiveness, specifically public service loan forgiveness, may want to take advantage of something called PSLF buyback. Since these SAVE forbearance months don't count towards forgiveness, the buyback is one way to basically retroactively count this time towards PSLF. It allows you to get credit for periods of time where you were not making payments, including the SAVE forbearance and even outside of the SAVE forbearance. So maybe if there was a period of time you were in forbearance, yet working for a qualifying employer, didn't receive credit because you weren't making payments, you are given the ability to potentially buy back those months to count as credit towards your 120. Now, the buyback only happens when you're at the finish line for PSLF. So you must already have 120 certified months of eligible employment. So if you have not reached that 120 months of eligible employment yet, the buyback is not something that is eligible to you. So you have to be really at that finish line. After you've certified your 120 eligible months of employment, you can complete a buyback request to earn any of those months towards actually counting as qualifying credits. But again, you need to be at the 120th employment mark. You can submit a buyback request under what's called the reconsideration request portal on studentaid.gov. We have an excellent Help Center article outlining exactly how this works and how you need to do it. There are currently no plans to eliminate the PSLF buyback. So, it is a reliable option. We have dozens of borrowers who are pursuing it right now, who have reached that 120 finish line. But obviously we will keep you posted if there are any changes to this. But again, this PSLF buyback is going to be a viable option for those who are at near or at the finish line of 120 certified months of eligible employment. And if you think you may be near that, you want to make sure that you have submitted your employment certification forms, as up to current as possible. All right, lastly here, what do I do if my payment is too high? Well, always, if your payment is too high and you are curious or need to explore options about lowering that monthly payment, you can use Savi's personalized repayment estimator to explore what your other options may be, whether it's on a standard plan, whether it's on other income-driven repayment plans. This is where Savi is going to be able to provide you with that personalized estimate. Savi generally recommends enrolling in an income-driven repayment plan to get a low and affordable payment and ensure that your payments count towards forgiveness programs like public service loan forgiveness or income-driven repayment forgiveness. So after entering your information in the Savi application, we'll show you what those options are. We'll highlight what the best option could be for lowering that monthly payment and even getting those loans forgiven. And then if you are on one of the premium plans, obviously we'll process all of the paperwork and enrollment forms to get you to the finish line. All right, so some final thoughts here on sort of everything that I've touched on above. I think the biggest tip moving forward that I can share is being proactive. We really don't know what the future holds. Every day, new things are coming out. But it's possible that loan servicers could face less accountability than they have even in the past, and become even less helpful for borrowers, if that's imaginable. Likewise, qualifying for forgiveness may become more challenging, but these are not new things to us here at Savi. We've been working and helping borrowers in this space under the first Trump administration, Biden administration, and now onto the second Trump administration. But in an environment like this, borrowers need to be proactive, and we're going to do whatever we can to help make that as easy as possible for you. If you're working towards loan forgiveness, make sure you understand all the program requirements and documents that you need to be submitting and documenting that progress, saving records of things, applications, screenshots, all of those. You can never be too careful. And I always say, if you're not sure, just save a copy just in case. So you want to download copies of all statements and communications from your servicer. If you make a call, take notes, ask for the agent's name and agent ID number. Write down what you asked, what you were told, when it happened. Those notes might never be needed. Hopefully they're never needed, but they could prove helpful in the future. And then lastly, staying up to date. Don't ignore student loan news. We are going to be really taking an active role in communicating on these topics to you and in your inbox. I know personally it may be tempting to unplug and disengage from politics and news altogether, but given the challenges borrowers might face and some of the concerning program and policy changes on the chopping block, it's important not to miss these major developments. And again, you can count on Savi to be delivering to you in your inbox anything important that you need to know and take action around. So we hope to really be sort of the trusted source for you, now more than ever. So again, we're going to continue to monitor every aspect of the student loan system. That is really my job here at Savi, and provide you with the most accurate and up-to-date information. We do that through, these regular sort of town halls and webinars the first Wednesday of every month, but we are also doing it in your inbox. So, to help you stay informed, we're going to be sending you policy updates via emails, breaking news, anything that you need to know so that the most recent and up-to-date information is at your fingertips. I also want everyone to know that we are always advocating for borrowers, working with a lot of partners, advocates across the aisles to ensure that you have access to affordable repayment and forgiveness options now and going forward. And again, as always, we'll notify all of you of any potential impacts to your situation. And what's helpful in us doing that is by making sure that all the information in your Savi account is up to date. Make sure your loans are synced, your servicer is synced. There may be some updates that are particular to Mohila servicer. And so for all borrowers we know that have Mohila, we're going to communicate that to them. But again, we want to make sure that we have that information so that we can tailor some of these updates and any important actions that you might need to take. And then, of course, by enrolling in a Savi Essential or Pro account, it allows us to monitor those loans even more, and any questions or communications that you receive and you're unsure of allows you to engage with our support team to get those questions answered. And I think what's become most valuable for many people during a time like this, right, is the ability to get that expert advice, to speak with our team, whether it's on the phone, chat, or email, one-on-one. And again, those are available through Savi Essential or Pro plans. All right, so to recap a few things, we want to talk about some next steps here. So again, we want to make sure everyone has access to their Savi account. We're going to be sending an email following today's sessions with all of this information. So there's no need to do anything right now, but you can always scan this QR code to log back into your account. If you don't have a Savi account yet, check your email after this session. You'll be receiving a link to activate that account. And using Savi really is simple. We try to make it as simple as possible through technology. So instead of having to fill out a bunch of different applications and submit them on your own, with Savi, you are filling out one application, what we call our Savi application. We're collecting the information we need to show you your best options. And from there, we pre-fill and digitize the applications needed to enroll in these various programs to get you on your way. So how do you apply for programs through Savi? Again, making sure you've gone through, filled out your Savi application, seen your plan results, and from that screen, clicking continue. If you have a Essential or Pro account, it really is as easy as a click of a button. You're able to attach any supporting income documentation. We're going to pre-fill and digitize those forms and get those off to your servicers as quickly as possible. All right, another question here. Can Savi help me with my loans? Yes, regardless of whether you have private, federal, loans in default, you're just starting repayment, you have no idea what's going on or where your loans are, it does not matter. Savi was designed to help any borrower at any point along the way. So all we need you to do is start entering the information. That Savi application will show you your personalized options for managing your student loans. And if you choose to upgrade to that Essential or Pro membership for that one-on-one support, application support, you can always do that. We also are a big resource for borrowers when it comes to resolving student loan servicer issues. Again, we're seeing a lot of discrepancies with what servicers are communicating, how they are calculating or miscalculating monthly payments. So any questions, anything strange that you're seeing, right, with one of those premium plans, you can reach out to one of our dedicated support agents who will be able to help you in answering those questions. No concern is too big or too small, we promise. So again, when it comes to your Savi account, you have options as far as how you want to utilize and take advantage of our services and support. Anyone can create that Savi account for free and remain on that account for free under our DIY plan. You can sync your loans, see your best options, and from there, if you decide you want to enroll in those programs on your own, we will provide you with the applications and instructions to do so. But many borrowers realize the administrative burden, the complexity, and the hassle of trying to monitor these things and your servicer all on your own. And so they are able to upgrade to our most popular Essential plan, for usually a small yearly fee or sometimes no fee at all, depending upon your employer or organization. And that's where you have access to all of the application support, as well as one-on-one expert support from our student loan support team, or our highest level feature, which is Pro. This is sort of a very concierge level of support. You are able to schedule a one-on-one call right from your Savi account. So that is also at your disposal as well. But again, you can choose when and how you'd like to upgrade. If that's something that you are interested in, you can do so right from the dashboard of your Savi account. And speaking of our amazing customer support team, always from your Savi account, you can click contact support in the bottom left corner of any page. And you can access our amazing help center with tons of great content. We're going to be putting out a lot more video guides in the future to really help explain these things. That way, if you couldn't attend today's webinar, you can watch a 2-minute video clip instead, get the information that you need. And if you are a premium member of Essential or Pro, that's where you are able to engage with our support team, either via message or live chat. And we have a telephone number as well. All right, so to wrap things up here again, just some next steps. Want to make sure everyone has access to their Savi account. Enrolling in a premium plan, if you are looking for that extra support, monitoring, especially during a time like this, if you are unsure of what to do next, we really want borrowers to feel empowered about how we might be able to help you in taking that. And then completing any necessary applications, especially for those who may be close to that 120 or at that 120 in pursuing PSLF. Now is the time to make sure that you are on track, have everything submitted that you need to, and our team is standing by ready to help. So again, we are going to be in communication with everyone on any breaking student loan updates. We appreciate everyone taking the time to attend today. We hope that it was helpful. And we will be in touch in your inbox. You'll be hearing from us again as any news breaks on the student loan front. So as always, we appreciate any feedback. We hope that this was helpful, and we look forward to seeing everyone in the near future. Thanks so much, everyone.